For most people, saving $10,000 on a $40,000 salary is an impossible goal. They think that you need to be making more money. Others say that you need to cut out Starbucks and all little joys in order to meet that goal. But after I saved my first $10,000 making near minimum wage and built my own wealth from nothing, I can tell you firsthand that saving your first $10,000 comes from organizing what you already earn. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can save $10,000 while making a $40,000 salary and how to do it on the exact timeline to become wealthy. By the way, if we haven't met before, welcome. I'm Anastasia, and on this channel, I share practical wealth building strategies that help me build my wealth from scratch so that you can do it too. Let's get into it. So $10,000 on a $40,000 salary. Not a small goal. Having $10,000 puts you above about half of the US population because most Americans have around $8,000 between their checking and savings account. And that's not surprising because to save this amount, you have to be able to put away $833 a month every month for a year. You might be tempted to think that you'll just extend the timeline to 2 years or to 3 years, or maybe you're thinking that you'll watch my video and start using my advice when you start making more money. Well, here's why I'm telling you that you need to start now. You don't have 3 years to save $10,000. You don't have 2 years, and you definitely don't have time to wait until you're making more money. I'm going to tell you exactly how to save $10,000 on a $40,000 salary in just a minute. But I want to show you this first. Compounding only works if you build the habit early enough for time to do the heavy lifting. So let's see the numbers. If you save $10,000 a year on a $40,000 salary, assuming your typical stock market return of 8%, it will take you 28 years to build your first million. I count to the first million because it's the first milestone of true wealth, and most people can't define what wealthy means. To some, it's the ability to drive an expensive car, or live in a nice house, or go out to eat at expensive restaurants, or go on fun trips. Being wealthy is not that. There is a lot less joy in going to Hawaii if you have to come back and clock in at 8 a.m. on Monday. Being wealthy is not about trips and cars. Being wealthy is when you have enough assets that generate enough passive income to pay for your lifestyle so that you don't have to work, so that you can stop trading time for money. Now you can put a number to it. If your lifestyle costs $40,000 a year, you need a portfolio large enough to cover that for you. And the first time your portfolio starts generating meaningful returns is when you reach $1 million. At 8%, that's $80,000 per year. And if you can manage saving $10,000 a year starting at 25, you can get there by the time you're 53. There's another reason why you need to reach your first million as soon as possible. Up until now, you're doing most of the heavy lifting. And that notion of money working for you doesn't seem to apply yet. But things start to change once you hit $1 million. That's the number when compounding finally becomes visible. At 8% rate of return, it will take 9 years for your first million to double, and another 9 years for your 2 million to become 4. So if you were 53 when you became a millionaire, saving only $10,000 a year, you're going to be a multimillionaire at 62, and you'll reach 4 million by 71. This is how money works. And it all depends on that original goal of saving $10,000 a year. Anything longer than that, and you'll simply be too old to enjoy what you worked so hard for. All right, so how do you actually do this on a $40,000 salary when rent, transportation, and food already put you in the red? Honestly, I don't even know where to start. Just kidding. I'll start by asking this. Do you know why schools have uniforms? Imagine you're 15 years old having to decide what to wear in the morning. It's really hard, and it can quite possibly be the hardest decision you'll have all day at that age. Schools use uniforms because removing one recurring choice preserves mental energy. Money works the same way when you eliminate the hardest choice. So now back to saving $10,000 on a $40,000 salary. Let me give you a multiple choice question and see if you know the answer. When we're trying to save $10,000 while barely making ends meet, what is the hardest decision that we can make up front and get it out of the way? Is it A, always make coffee at home? Is it B, check your bank account balance every day? Or is it C, automatically transfer $800 to your savings account every month? If you answered A, here's something that happened to me. When I was pregnant with my last baby, all I wanted to eat was a Starbucks breakfast sandwich, and it felt like I went there every day. I was terrified at how much money I spent, but when I checked, it was just over $100 a month. Not even close to how much I thought I spent. It felt expensive, and that's exactly what happens. We jump to cutting small habits because it feels productive. It feels like we're doing something, but in reality, it's just penny pinching, and it's not going to put you on the trajectory to build your first $10,000. If you answered B, I'd argue that checking your bank account in the morning and seeing a balance of $6.18 is depressing and will hardly motivate you to go on and save money. When you're at zero, the mountain feels impossible, and looking at it from the ground up really doesn't help. So start with the hardest choice. Move that $800 a month to your savings account automatically. By doing this, you're using a technique called reverse budgeting. You set aside money for priorities and figure out how to budget the rest. When you're looking at your remaining $1,834, you see that it's not going to be the coffee that will help you budget. It's almost always the big categories: housing, transportation, and meals. And there is another category that will actually move you forward, and I'll tell you about it in a minute, but let's look at these three for now. Average rent is about $1,800 in the US. Get a roommate, that's your $800 a month. Move in with your parents temporarily, you can save even faster. What happens a lot of times is that people will downgrade their living situation to save money, but then they say, I'll start next month, which turns into next month and another month, and they end up living comfortably, not paying rent and spending all that money. So if you're doing this, the first month your rent payment is reduced, that's the month your automatic savings transfer starts. If you don't do this, you're just going to spend the money. The next big category is food, so meal planning. I know that personally, if I'm winging it at Trader Joe's, I end up overspending, buying random stuff that ends up being wasted. Then my family doesn't actually have any food for dinner, and we end up with takeout. So on the low end, meal planning can save about $400 a month, even if you do takeout a couple times a month. Transportation is a hard one. Looking at the average cost of car ownership in the US, there is definitely room to reduce that amount. So if you're driving a used car, gas-efficient car, that's going to last you the next several years, that's great. But if you're driving a BMW with a $1,000 car payment that you can't afford, you can't really unscramble the egg, honestly. When you buy a car, you just leak money all around. Your down payment, your interest on the loan, taxes on your purchase, car depreciation, all that can put you upside down in your payments. So it's best to make a good decision up front. And if selling your BMW and getting a Honda is not an option, and you're committed to saving $10,000, this is where that fourth category comes in. That category is your time. And your time and how you spend it will help you increase this number here so that you can keep up with your $800 a month payments to your $10,000 fund and pay your bills at the same time. So if after you've used the reverse budgeting method and reduced your expenses as much as you could, you still realize that the rest of your paycheck is not enough to cover bills, that's your signal. It's time to make more money. Life only gets more expensive, and your ability to save will forever be capped by your income. Saving your first $10,000 teaches discipline, and increasing income determines how far that discipline can take you. That's why the long game is learning how to earn more, not just how to cut back. All right, so if you're on this journey of saving $10,000, it's very important that you keep it in the right account. I'm going to include that information in the description of the video along with some of my other resources. So download it and make sure that your money is in the right place and working for you right away. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.